kitchen table that we've got set up here. We're going to basically just go through a couple questions, talk about your a little bit about you and about your candidacy, and in semi-fairness, most of the questions are pretty much the same for each person. The kind of the lead-off question is any previous offices that you've held? Have you run for or held any other elected positions in the past?
If you're talking about the general electorate, no, sir, I have not. I am appointed on the state board of public accountancy. It's a CPA board down in Austin, appointed by Governor Perry. I've been appointed to several other boards.
What does that board do? Because I saw that on your website, and I kind of scratched my head and said I can probably guess what that does. You know, analogous to the medical board. But what do you do there that would matter to us?
It regulates the CPA industry, and so there's many things that go on there on the board. But we regulate that industry to make sure that protects the public is the bottom line of that.
Okay.
There's testing and all kinds of things that go on when people have to go through and prove their credentials in order to serve as a CPA.
What do you guys that make that CPA exam so hard?
We are responsible for that, actually. I'm one of the public members. I'm not a CPA myself, but I am a public member, and they have 5 public and 10 CPAs that serve on the board.
Okay. Now, this particular position, why this position? Why now? I saw from your website you've been quite active in politics for quite a long time. Something happened that you said, this is the race for me.
Right. And so, are you talking about? I'm going to go back to the previous question just to make sure that I fully answered that. So, elected office is the general electorate as far as running for public office where everyone can vote for that. Is that what you're asking, or are you asking for? There's many things that I've run for and served in different positions, and so.
Well, it was part of the question for me, part for the audience, if you've been
Sure.
City council, school board, local.
Right, those would all be general electorate
Yes.
type elections.
Right.
So that would be the only thing. And so, why this position? Why am I running for county commissioner? Is that the next question? Right. So this is something that God has put on my heart. It's been probably about 2.5 years ago, and I'm praying about that. I've enjoyed serving the public. Public service is part of my DNA. My mom was a teacher. My dad served on city council. My older brother was with the fire department for many years. So it's just part of my DNA. I enjoy serving, and so having served as president of the corridor for 2 terms and many other leadership roles for the last 20 years in the party, it just is a natural step for me. I care about public policy. I'm just passionate about conservative values, and so that's the main thing that I would be wanting to do as far as the serving. Right?
Okay. Now, when this position came open, there were a lot of people that were interested. I remember some of the previous meetings when we would ask political candidates to stand up, about half the room would stand up because they were applying for this particular position.
Some of those were right here.
Yes, they are. Probably the toughest question that I would have to ask. Judge Self had to pick someone to fill that position. He picked someone else. Why do you think that was?
I met with the judge 2 days after, I believe. Is that right, Keith? We met and had a discussion among friends, and just discussed his criteria that he was looking at, and had a great discussion. Ultimately, he made his choice, and I believe, right now it's time for the voters to make their choice. It's certainly within his prerogative and his purview to do that, and I have no problem with him exercising that and support him in that role. I just happen to believe that I'm the right candidate, and that's why I continue to run, and I filed for candidacy.
It's a very gracious answer. One of the things that I noticed in, I think it was either the last meeting or the meeting before, I got one of your handouts. The list of endorsements that you had was pretty impressive. But one of the thoughts that went through my mind was, with there being such a sort of anti-establishment wave, and certainly the Tea Party has been a part of that, and party affiliation, be Republican or not, is really not any protection against that sort of anti-establishment mentality. How do you see yourself relative to that? Do you see your long-standing party involvement as an advantage? Is it possibly a disadvantage? If someone were concerned that might be a disadvantage to this position, how would you answer those concerns?
Well, I think that goes back to, if you look at the endorsements that are on that list, They're not just from one sector, one group of people, one corner of the party per se. If you look at the handout that we even have, I see some out in the room tonight, it's a yellow handout. On the front side, it's got many, many Tea Party endorsements. And so many, many people across the state that are involved in the Tea Party that have known me, have known my work, they know what I stand for. Those are part of that list of endorsements. However, there's many, many others that are Republican endorsements. There's many that are from the evangelical community, you know, with our Judeo-Christian heritage, constitutional scholars, like David Barton and Kelly Shackelford. I'm blessed to have a wide array of people that support me, not just one sector of the party. So it just goes back to relationships. I've worked with these people. These aren't just people that I called up and said, hey, would you put your name on my list? I mean, Kelly Shackelford and David Barton I worked with on the state platform committee on several platform planks that we got trying to make it a more fair process when we were electing our leader, Speaker of the House. So we wanted to make sure that we had something in place that made it where we would have town hall meetings and people would be more connected with the public that they represent, and worked on a couple of different platform things like that. So.
Okay, good. In your involvement in political issues previously, specifically with the Collin County Commissioners Court, are there what's been your pattern of attendance at those meetings? Issues that you've spoken in front of the Commissioners Court for? Tell me about that. So what have you done previously to the Commissioners Court?
In 2008, Judge Self appointed me to the board that advises the court on health care, state-mandated health care issues for the indigent population here in Collin County. And so I've been on that board since 2008, been reappointed. Thank you, Judge. And I've enjoyed serving on the board. It's an important board. There's many important boards within the county, and it's important to have citizen involvement in these boards. So absolutely, I've enjoyed my interaction with the court in that capacity. When we have budget proposals, when we come in with our recommendations for funding, for grant funding, there's been a few times when I've come in and been willing to present that and answer questions from the court if they have any questions about the recommendations that we make. Of course, the commissioners either accept those recommendations or they may change or disagree with us, but they have asked, and it's good that they're asking the citizens what we believe is important in our county government.
Okay. Are there any business affiliations that you have, any personal affiliations that you think might potentially be a conflict of interest were you to be elected to the Commissioners Court?
None that I am aware of, no.
Now, one issue that's been before the Commissioners Court recently was the restructuring of the county employees' retirement plan. Tell me what you know about the process, the outcome, and how you feel about the plan that they came up with.
Well, this is a process that's been going on for many, many years. I know back in, I believe it's 2010, there was a proposal that was out there, and a few changes were made back then. And then recently, Judge Self came up with a new plan, which he had proposed. And I actually met with him at Avalon or somewhere and asked a few extra questions. Just wanted to know more about the intricacies of his plan and understand some of the projections and actuarials about how that's going to work. And he did a great job of explaining those things. I just wanted to know that for myself. I thought it was important to understand that. Ended up being that wasn't the plan that the court went with, and we had another commissioner, Commissioner Webb, came in and had a great idea to come in and basically put forth a plan where the employees are also sharing part of the risk, but still we're able to continue with the matching that we have right now. So.
Now, are there times in the past, either professional experience, because I'm thinking in part of work experience especially, where you've had to confront those kind of difficult issues, where you've had to be responsible for cutbacks, layoffs, benefit reductions, and things like that. What personal or professional experience have you had that would prepare you to be the person up there with a room full of angry sheriff deputies and probation and parole officers all looking at you like you are taking Mayweather retirement and I don't like it? What have you been through in the past that's going to prepare you to deal with those kind of issues?
Right. I think honestly, the core of your question has to do with just what are you bringing to the table. But I'll go back and answer your question specifically. I have worked in the corporate field. I worked for Sunbelt Savings as well as Bank of America in the corporate facilities department, space planning, interior design, corporate construction. I have been the victim of a layoff, so I certainly know how that feels from that employee perspective, which is important. I have run my own business and had my own construction, interior design, corporate facilities. I was contracting out to different clients, including Software Spectrum, several other facilities contractors here until I had my son. So it's important as a sole proprietorship, but it's very important to understand those business things as well. However, I think it's important to have someone serving on the court who has good judgment. I think judgment matters. I think that's ultimately, what really matters is that you're able to make policy decisions and be able to have those core values to make those decisions.
What do you recall as a particularly tough judgment call that you had to make in the past?
Oh, I've had to make many tough judgment calls when you've got contractors that are all bidding on $1 million projects, and they all want the business, and you've got to make those calls, and you've got to be accountable to tell them why they didn't get it and why you went with this guy, and, all of those things, absolutely. And there's been areas where you have character things that come up within your own character, and you have to know to be able to do the right thing. There's money that comes to you, and they say, hey, we'll give you this money under the table if you'll just let this slide. I mean, those kind of things happen in the world all the time. And you have to have somebody with the integrity to say, no, that's not right. I'm doing the right thing, especially in a role like this.
Okay. Now, if you were to be elected to the Commissioner's Court, any particular projects, and is there a mission or something that drives you that you think to yourself, if I'm elected, if I get on the Commissioner's Court, by golly, the one thing that I want to make sure I get done is what?
Well, that just goes back to my priorities. I think my priorities, besides keeping our taxes low, and our tax rate is the second lowest in the state right now. I think that's incredible. I applaud the court for the job well done. But I think economic development is very, very important. It's important for us to have businesses starting here, encouraging them to start here in Collin County, and have others relocate here to Collin County. I think Magpul is one of those that I would love to see them come to Collin County. I've heard they're coming to Texas, but I'd love for them to come to Collin County. Those are important. I think public safety is very, very important. Public safety is a broad term. I mean, it can go from the constables up to the courts, and deputies up to the DA's office, and our judicial system and all of that. It's important. But we've also got to do that in a transparent way, and in an efficient way, and in an accountable way.
One thing that's probably quite different about asking a question like that in Collin County, I think if you ask that question in a lot of other parts of the country, they're going to talk about the road that they're going to put through to, or the bridge they're going to build or something like that. They're going to talk about the money that they're going to spend. And so far, I've yet to get a pet project that one of our candidates is hoping to push through, which is good. The flip side, programs that you think could be shrunk, reduced, cut, eliminated?
There are always efficiencies that can be identified within the budget. I think if we think that we've cut enough, then we're not looking hard enough. Honestly, I think the biggest thing we're going to is zero-based budgeting. I think that's important for us to look at. Do you really need this? Is this just the number that you used last year? And where are we going with when we create this budget? I was the only candidate out of all of them before we had the appointment process that actually was at the budgeting workshop all summer. So,
you caught my curiosity with that. For those who may not know, and we're going to have to make this kind of quick. I saw you learn my foot. I forgot to turn my timer on before, but we've got a little bit more time of that one. In a nutshell, what is zero-based budgeting? Why are you an advocate of that?
Well, I think when many companies will come in and you have your different department heads and you go through this budget process. Whatever the budget process is, they get their instructions. Most will look at how much they spent on office supplies, how much they spent on salaries, all these different things. Some of these things are not something that can change. But there's many things that, hey, this is what we spent last year, and so we're going to need that much this year. I think it's important for us to evaluate every single dollar, especially when it's the taxpayers' money. It's not our money. It's important for us to be looking at these budget items and make sure that we understand that these are dollars that need to be spent. So you start at zero, and then you figure out what it is that you need. You've got to look at the revenues that come in, and what work needs to be accomplished, and do the best that you can by the taxpayers. It's their money.
Is the vending machine in the courthouse basement safe? Joke number 2. Okay. We're going to wrap up here in just a second. Amongst 3 excellent candidates, what would you say stands out about you that someone who's undecided, who says, look, we've got these 3 different people to pick from, what would make them say, Susan, you're the one. I choose Susan. You're the one that I would vote for. I want you there. What sets you apart that would make you that person?
I think I just have a combined record of business experience, community service. I have a 20-year record of working in the party. I've been around for a long, long time. I started back in 1993. In 1994, I attended my first state convention. I realized that there's other candidates in this race that have service records as well. I think it's important to vote. Voting is very, very important. Your voting record is very, very important. I've voted in every Republican primary since at least 1994. I haven't been able to go back further past that. I think it's very, very significant that one of my opponents has never voted in a primary race until 2010. I think that's very, very significant. It matters what you've done in the past. It matters what your record is. And I have a proven record of service. And I've been around for a long, long time. Would love to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, what we're going to do, I'm going to have Mark come in, and then after that, we'll have all 3 of you guys come back, and we'll take questions from the audience. But thank you for joining me up here.
Thank you so much.
She's got some fans in there.